Hi guys, my name is Tife, aka Cake Daddy, and I remember the first few cakes that I made. I decorated with buttercream, and I'll put a few pictures of my first cakes, and they are nothing to write home about. I mean, I struggled a lot with getting like perfect silky buttercream, so I finally discovered like the best way to do this, and I'm going to show you guys in this video. But before we get into it, if you like this video, please click the like button. And if you want to improve your baking, if you want to be a better baker, if you want to learn tips and tricks about baking, please don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Alright guys, let's go there. So I'm trying something new on my channel, so you're going to be seeing me in the background while I talk you guys through this recipe. All right, are we together? Okay. So the first tip that I advise every baker to do is to use a little bit of unsalted butter and margarine, especially if you're trying to save cost. Then we're going to use a bit of icing sugar, and just 1 second here before we continue this recipe. The trick to getting great buttercream is to use 2 parts icing sugar to 1 part butter. Now, if you are using margarine and unsalted butter, you want to half those two, so you use equal parts of unsalted butter and margarine. And I know a lot of people are very cost sensitive, given the fact that unsalted butter can be quite expensive, but it just has this tendency to make it's easier to whip, and it also makes it silky because also the butter has this texture to it. So, like I said, 2 parts icing sugar, 1 part butter. So one thing I've learned over the years, and the best thing to do as a baker, is to always sieve your ingredients. And we're going to sieve this icing sugar thoroughly. We want no lumps inside this because we want the mixing process to be very, very easy. So in the same bowl, I'm not washing any bowl, I don't have time for that. In the same bowl, the first step to silky buttercream, and the most important part, is whipping your ingredients properly. And we're going to start by whipping the unsalted butter and the margarine thoroughly till it's pale and it's fluffy. You can see the way it looks, it's very pale already. And then the next step we're going to take is we're going to add half of the icing sugar, and then we're going to mix thoroughly again. So the secret to white silky buttercream is not adding super white powder or adding some kind of additive. It's just by whipping and whipping and whipping. You can see the texture and the color here is already very, very pale. But because I want it to be a bit more paler and a bit more white, I'm going to mix it a bit more, and then I'm going to add the remaining icing sugar. And then we're going to whip this and whip it and whip it at least for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm using a very small batch. I'm making a very small batch because this is what I need to ice a few cupcakes that I'm going to show you guys in a bit. So you can see the texture of this. It's a bit hard. It's not as spreadable. I don't know if you can see it properly. but it's not as soft as you want it to be. So to take this to the next level, to make sure it's really soft and spreadable, we're going to add a tablespoon of milk in a separate bowl, and then we're going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla. And I like mixing the vanilla with milk because it just, I don't know, it just elevates the taste. I've noticed that whenever I just add milk and I add vanilla after, it doesn't really have that vanilla buttercream taste. But when I add the milk and then the vanilla together, it just elevates it totally. So we're going to add half a tablespoon at a time, because we don't want to add too much. We don't want to go beyond this step. We don't want to take longer than we already have. So we're going to add half a tablespoon of milk at a time, and then add as we need, and add more as we need, because you can always add but you can't take away. And just half a tablespoon was enough for this recipe. And the trick with this, if you are scaling this recipe up, you want to add a tablespoon at a time. Don't assume that because a YouTube video said add 3 tablespoons of milk, and that's the perfect. These things vary with weather. For instance, Nigeria, it's so hot. Nigeria is so hot, and you can't judge the softness of your butter. And 3 tablespoons might be okay for another person, but for you, it's totally different. So to use this buttercream, I'm going to be icing a few cupcakes. Is it icing or frost? I'm going to be icing a few cupcakes. And one thing I learned about putting buttercream in cupcakes is to putting buttercream in piping bags is to cup the piping bag in your hands, so it's easy to just maneuver everything, and you don't have to make a mess basically. And another top tip that I think you really need is when you're icing cupcakes, you want to put the piping bag perpendicular. You don't want to put it on an angle. You want to put it exactly vertical. You don't want to have it like tilting to one side, because it will affect the outcome of the swirl. So if you see, I'm starting in the middle, putting pressure first, and then going around, holding my piping bag vertically. So I'm not putting it on an angle, and you can see the way it came out. The swirl is nice and even. And when you're, this is the same principle when you're like decorating or piping on cakes. It's the same principle. You want to hold it vertically, start in the middle, and then go around. So that's just it, guys. It's as simple as that. It just takes a little time, a lot of whipping, and using the right ingredients. And please don't feel that unsalted butter is so expensive. It just, I don't know how the folks at Cakes and Cream do it, but this is just the easiest method I've found to get smooth, silky buttercream. I know a lot of people prefer to use margarine only, but in my experience, using margarine just makes it yellow, and it doesn't give it that white, nice finish as buttercream should have. So if you have any other comments, or share your own experiences, which other ways did you use to achieve white, silky buttercream? I really like to hear from you guys. And that's all for today. See you guys in the next one. Bye.